Hello everybody, this is my second video on editing. My name is Dan Fostel. I'm with Fostel Studios and we're going to look at some of the groundwork for creating a composite image. So this is going to be the model prep for composites. So I've got some new setup here, well really old setup, but got a little bit more equipment to play with. Got this cool background behind me, and as soon as I can figure out a chroma key, I've got it chroma keyed. I just have to get a backdrop so we can drop that background out. So that's kind of cool. Gain bottle was the only thing I could find that was the right color for a chroma key. So just kind of seeing how the audio works, seeing how the video works. I'm using new software now, OBS, which is a screen recorder, to see if I can teach you guys some things in editing via this system. So I do have 3 screens, so pardon me if I keep looking over here. This is screen 1, screen 2, and then my main display is in front, so hopefully this isn't too distracting. So we're going to switch to the Photoshop here. So this is the image that I'm going to be working with. So we're doing a Selene composite here. So a few things that I'm looking at with the image. So when I prepare an image, the number one thing I'm trying to do is I'm trying to prepare this image as much as possible. So I'm going to do my editing, clean up the face, clean up the skin, clean up anything that I see as a problem, and then we're going to go through the cutout process to get this image ready for compositing. So if I zoom in here, I can see some of the things I want to work on. So I'm going to start with my Retouch 4.0 set. So it's going to give me a little message here. Go to Filter News Medium, reduce the detail. This is to kind of set the color. Filter, noise, median. And as I said, I'm looking for, now the Sony has a pretty high resolution, so I'm probably looking around 8 pixels for that. And I'm going to continue running the action set to build my work layers. And it's going to kick me out into the frequency separation section. There's also the dodge and burn section up here, and then you have the eye display up here. Now I'm going to shrink myself down here so you guys can see a little bit more of what's going on. Once I get that chroma key done, it'll be able to show you the image behind it. So as I start out here, I'm looking at the main detail layer, and that's where we're going to be working on a lot of the skin retouching, getting rid of some of these hairs that are across the face, kind of smoothing the skin a little bit. Luckily it should be fairly easy cutout because she's wearing leather, so there's not much skin in the shot. We also have these barrels that are obviously yellow. We drop it down to a black and white layer because black and white shows us the luminosity in the shot. So I do have my editing setup. I'm using a Huion tablet. It's very cheap, probably $60 if that. And I've been using this Huion tablet for a year now. It works great. The other side, my console here down low, I do have a monogram console which I will be using for the brush size and also my zoom. So I have one knob set to zoom, and then I have another knob set to brush size, so I can very quickly adjust that. I have a button set to Alt and a button set to Move right on my tablet, so I leave my hand sitting on the monogram so I can work the large knob with my pinky, and then my thumb and my index are the Alt and the Move features. So that's kind of how I move around the image. So jumping right into it, I'm going to start off with the healing brush tool. I'm going to select a brush size right around where I want to work here. And what I'm going to be doing, so this is only attacking the texture in the shot. So say I want to remove that hair. We can't just remove the hair because we need to put skin back underneath, so we're putting that skin texture back underneath. So now I'm just coming through looking at some of these lines. You have to be careful to randomize some of this. If you have too many repeatable patterns, you'll start seeing that there's dark splotches, light splotches. So you have to be careful not to repeat using the same place too many times and bringing light spots in, dark spots. Otherwise, we need to fix those later. So I'm just kind of knocking out some of these age lines here, which normally aren't a problem in a model, but depends on what we're going for. In this one, we're going for a surreal fantasy shot, so we are going to knock out a lot of this and make our model a little bit cleaner. So I'm just sampling with Alt and moving that texture up to where I need it to be. Okay, pretty happy with the forehead there for now. There's a couple more steps that we'll go into. So now I'm going to just start moving down the image. So again, rolling my size a little bit lower. Finding a clean spot of skin texture and just rolling it onto those age lines. So there I caught a wrinkle from the other side. So you have to watch the texture. I obviously can't put this texture onto the eyes or else it'll look wrong. We have to use the texture from the zone that we're working on. Now I don't like these hairs over here, so I'm going to just take some of those out. So just kind of moving some of the skin texture onto that hair and removing it from my shot. Sampling close to the site, knocking out what I'm looking at, and then grabbing a new site. Over here, same thing. We have a little bit of this. I'm trying to decide. Yeah, we'll probably clean those up. You could leave them if it fits. You know, we had a fan going on her, so there was a hair moving everywhere. Again, sampling skin texture nearby, and just walking that skin texture onto where I want to remove the hair. Just clicking Alt to define the source. Now you got to be careful to watch where that cursor is going, because if I go too far I can grab another hair and just duplicate it, and that's not what we're trying to do. Might not mind all those, I'll leave some of them in for now. So some of this, like you can still see the dark spot, that's from the color that's still left over from that hair we removed. So we'll get to that in the next step. Lip texture. So I'm going to pull some lip examples here to work some of those lines out. And then we're back to skin texture. Always grabbing a texture that I think fits the zone that I'm trying to knock out. Okay, we can leave a few of those hairs there. We'll go back to some smile line reduction here. Just alt-clicking, moving on, trying to just work through anything that catches my eye. Little spot here, we can just knock that out. Now in the eyes themselves, if I zoom into near pixel level there, we can also use this on the eyes to remove some of those veins, and that's going to give us a nice clean eye at the end. Got a little bit of light catching here from another strobe, so we're going to be very careful not to disturb too much of that, but just moving some of that eye texture on to clean up the eyeball a little bit. Down here again, we got a little bit of this, the veins in the eye. Clean those up a little bit. I'm not going to do anything with the eyelashes in this one, but I could paint in eyelashes and get crazy with some of those types of things. Now you can really kind of go crazy with some of this stuff and, you know, attack every little thing, but half the battle with editing is knowing when to stop, so I'm not going to go too crazy. I can always fix it later on. We're just trying to get the model prepped for now. So down here we're going to hit the neck. We've got to bring a little bit bigger brush because we're not working with such fine detail. So I can knock out stray hairs this way, which is a great technique for flyaway hairs. Once you've separated, done what's called, this setup uses what's called frequency separation. So it separated the color from the, so that's because I accidentally caught this zipper here, so we can quickly just paint right back over it. So the frequency separation separates the texture data from the color data, which is why I'm also working in black and white, because I'm not looking at the color at all. So that's kind of all the skin we have. The hands are blurred out because we had a pretty wide aperture prime lens, so we got this nice blurring going on here. So just looking at, you know, where the hair comes up here, is there any little spots that I want to attack real quick before we move on? Maybe this little hair that's kind of hanging out here. Yeah, I think I'm happy with that for now. Now these up here, we could also knock some of these out, but these are going to get knocked out as well in the flyaways around her in the selection process. Just kind of looking if there's anything else I want to knock out, but let's move on. So I'm going to bring the color back in. We're going to go down to main color layer. So now I have the color as shot. I'm going to come down here to my mixer brush tool, and you can note the settings that I have up top there. So the mixer brush is going to drag colors. So like if I grabbed in the lip there, I can drag that lip color up out of where it's supposed to be. So some of the stuff like these light spots, these dark spots up here, I can just take this mixer brush. I'm just going to kind of pull some of those tonalities together. And it's not going to look like it's doing much at first, but you guys will see the results in a second. The one thing I have to be careful of is I have to respect lines, gradient lines like this, because I don't want to mix those colors. I want to follow the natural curves that are going on here. I like this highlight, so I might bring that highlight up a little bit. Kind of work that shadow. So I'm just kind of letting my hand work. I don't like the heavy under eyes, so I'm going to kind of work those out. Take some of this lighter color from the skin and move that into the area there. Again, we have a change of color here, so I want to be careful. I can drag this light spot down a little bit, but I can't go straight across or else it'll kill this rosy cheek color, and I want some of that rosy cheek color in there as well. Again, we don't want to kill that highlight too much, watching that gradient there, but we do want the nose to be fairly linear, so I'm going to stretch those colors down. Just as an example of what we've done so far with that, you can see how much that has moved around the tonality in the image. Okay, over here I got this kind of harsh line here. Again, I'm going to bring some of that lighter color into the under eye area. I want to watch this rosy cheek color. Don't want to get that too tied up into the areas up here. Lighten behind the nose there. I want to watch this butterfly light here because obviously if I draw across, it's just going to draw that shadow, so I have to be careful around those hard transition lines. I'm just kind of dragging these around, these colors, clicking, dragging, pulling the colors down. I can move these shadow lines back a little bit if I want, drag some of the lighter tones into the shadow areas here, smooth out some of the kind of harsh spots there, drag some lighter tones into that area. Smooth out that line there. Okay, again, we can take a step back, look at what we've done. It's also handy to zoom out every once in a while. Oop, I killed something here. Killed the detail. I lost something. So somehow I clicked something and there we go, lost my background. Okay, so that's kind of what we've done so far to the face. Just kind of moving around those tones, cleaning up some of the lines, cleaning up some of the stray hairs. The next step that I'm going to look at is the dodge and burn. So dodge and burn is a luminosity thing, it's not a color thing, which is why we have the black and white. So I'm going to start off with dodge here. So I'm going to go to my brush tool, have it set to a flow of about 3%, opacity 100. So dodging, so I'm lightening things up. So I'm looking around, I want to make sure I have a nice soft brush. I'm just kind of looking around the image of places where I want to lighten up a little bit. So we obviously want to lighten up in here. Kind of smooth that transition. So what we're doing over here is we have this black mask and we're painting white on the black mask, revealing this curve layer. So if there's anything that's catching my eye as far as spots where it's a little bit lighter or darker. Right now I'm lightening. I'm just going to pull those areas up a little bit. There's two styles of dodge and burn, the local, which I'm doing now, and then the global, which we will do later. Looking through, seeing if anything else catches my eye. So that's the things that I lightened there. And now I'm going to go to the burn. So burn is going to take some of the light spots down. So I'm looking at light spots. Anything like up here where we were editing, sometimes you need to flatten some of that back out because the repetitive patterns give away the fact that it is indeed edited. So I may come through here and look at some of these light spots and I can knock them back. But it's not going to be that big a deal. Now for the global dodge and burn, going to get my shot back in order here. Now usually I'll do this later on in the shot once I've figured out how I'm going to make the image. But what I basically do, and I'm going to probably undo this, but I'm going to set that flow up to about 15%. And now we're doing bigger impacts. So now I can bring in light on the face. And I can darken down some of those shadows, but we'll do that later on. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 to undo those. So you can see kind of right now that we're already looking a lot better. So this is where we're at. That's where we started. Where we're at, where we started. So we're coming along nicely. This last category is going to be the eyes category. So as we're doing a Selene one, yeah, we do have some unnatural eyes. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tell it where the eye whites are. So come in here with a nice small brush. I usually just go 100% because I can always knock the layer back later. I'm just going to clean up that eye white. Being careful to stay in the confines of the eye because I don't want to have bumps and stuff going on the eyelid. Something we should always do is save. Let's see, do we have anything? Studio sessions, we're looking for Composite, Selene, and we're doing shot, looks like shot 3 model. So I'm saving it as a TIFF. So these are going to be absolutely massive files because it's shooting at 64 megabytes, and so I'm trying to see, do I, right now I'm working with white. I can switch that back to black. If I think I got a little out of bounds, knock that mask back. Alright, now we're going to go to the other eye. X switches back to our white brush. And again, we're just going to paint in the eye white area. So we do want it to follow that natural gradient in the shot, so I'm not upset that it's falling to shadow back there. Okay, so now it knows that was a backslash brings up the mask, so I can just make sure that we've got all of our zone covered here with the eye whites. Clean up our masks a little bit. Okay, it looks good. So now if I zoom out, zoom in on the face, we can see that it looks a little unnatural. But with most things in Photoshop, you want somewhere in the middle. So we'll back that down, and it just gives us a little bit of light. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the light boost here. I'm going to go through and I'm going to define the mask. So we're kind of going for an unnatural light eyeball, so I'm going to use the full power of this action set. Okay, just kind of defining the first eye, defining the second eye. Make sure we get this little zone above the iris. Cleaning that up. Now, I have this mask here that's defined the iris, so I don't necessarily have to do it again. I can just copy that mask up. And that's going to activate the optional light boost there. We can do the same thing with the color boost. And the optional color boost because we have this mask defined. The iris ring darken is a little bit different. So I'm actually going to manually do this. So we're talking about this little line here. And we're just going to manually paint that in. So I'm using, again, the white brush to reveal the mask. And just painting in that iris ring. It's obviously too much. So we back it down to where we need it to be. Just want a little bit of the ring, that black edge. Just looking at the way it naturally falls on her eye. And cleaning up that mask a little bit. Now the fun part, without going too much into fake irises, if I define a color here, that's it. If I define a color here, there we go. Now I can bring that color into the eye. And I'm going to take that color out of that iris ring a little bit there, wrong side. I'm just going to pull that color out of that iris ring so we have a nice dark black ring around the edge. And none of that color spilling out. From here, you can kind of play with that, see if I want a lighter color, if I want a darker color. So we're just trying to get the eyes roughly where I want them for now, and then I'll work on making them really pop later on in the editing process. So that's looking pretty good for now. So I'll close that down. I can always drop off the effect from this a little bit, but as it's a vampire shoot, I do want it to be fairly dramatic, so I'm going to leave most of that up all the way. I don't actually mind that. Has a nice natural look to it, and I can always adjust it later if I really wanted to. But I do want those eyes to pop. So I'm just looking at a few more spots before I close this up. So I'm going to come in here with the mixer brush. I'm just going to work this chest area a little bit, kind of blend those tones together, get rid of some of those. As you can see, we're just kind of pulling those tones together. Let's go with this one. I guess that's before and after with the tones there. And that's a good start to where I want to go with the preparation. So next video I'll be showing how to cut out the model. Might come in, I'll fix some of this little things here, but pretty happy with this so far. So to fix that, I'm just kind of going to draw through there. Another thing we can do is down here in the lip. So we turn on these color highlights, color burn. I can reveal some of these masks. So I'm going to go with a soft brush, flow of around 20-some%. So this is going to be my highlight. Need a white brush. So I can highlight some of these little spots here on the lip. Oop, that was too much. This might be too much here. Let's knock that down to like 10%. X. So I'll knock that back a little bit. X, bringing it in. So I can just kind of highlight that lip, top of the lip if I wanted to. And then on color burn is the opposite. So I'm going to be darkening down some of those areas, giving it a nice gradient there. More 3D looking. So that's the color highlight, color burn. I'll probably knock that back to 30% or so. Color highlights. Just kind of gives that a little bit of shine, a little bit of glow to the image. Just kind of looking at them before, looking at them after. So it just gives it a little bit more 3D effect there. So anyway, that's basically how I do my basic model prep. I may come back in and change a few things here and there. The next thing we'll do is we'll cut out the model so that we can bring it into our scene that we've prepared. Anyway, have a great day, guys.